So, welcome to the Money Identity Workshop. This is the workshop for heart-led entrepreneurs like yourselves who are ready to discover the five money story types, the five kind of biggest money blocks and behaviors that are potentially holding you back or your clients from building lasting wealth, feeling safe with money. I know that a lot of you might be here because you want to learn how to support your own relationship with money. And some of you might be wanting to do that and also go on to use this work with your clients. So we're going to be learning about over the next sort of 60 to 90 minutes. We're going to be diving into which of the money story types you lead with very naturally. And hopefully you've taken your assessments, the money story types assessment in advance of this workshop. Don't worry if you haven't, but that would be useful if you have those handy, or at least remember what your primary money story type was. We're going to dive into how to balance out the money story type to unlock more safety with money, more ease, more income, more aligned action, rather than going into this freeze response very often around money. We're also going to look at how to spot other people's money identities. And we're going to go through the awareness technique from our money narrative clearing method. This is the method that we use in our coach program. And this is one of the most powerful steps. I love this step so much because it allows you to immediately recognize money blocks for yourself and for others. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. I know some of you are here as well because you want to learn more about how potentially you could come and join us and learn the coaching tools for yourself to future-proof your business. I know there's a lot of noise in the online space right now, and there's a lot of concerns as well about how you may be able to safeguard your business with AI and things like that that are coming in. So we're going to be talking about that as well a little later. Now, I want to ask you a question. If you could expand your toolkit personally and professionally so that you could dive deeper into really helping other people and yourself with your relationship with money and future-proof your business, what would be possible for you? I just want you to think about that for a moment. What would be possible if you had a relationship with money where you felt safe to make more money, hold more money, spend more money? How would that change things for you? How would that potentially change things for your clients? Some of you might be working with clients as a business coach or a therapist or a health profession or a financial professional, a bookkeeper, an accountant. And every time money comes up, there's some difficulty in actually implementing your advice or following your advice. So what would be possible? I love getting into this like opportunity mindset, and not just in the mind, but in the body, like really thinking about what would be possible for you. Yeah, so Elizabeth's saying for me, it's a antipathy to admin so that I do the work but don't get paid, even though the parents of my students are asking to pay me. Yes, so almost like resisting being paid. Really, really common money block. Paul is saying talk of money. Yeah, any talk of money and I want to run. Yeah. Now we're going to understand more about why that happens, right? Because that is a nervous system response where money feels dangerous, doesn't feel safe for us to either ask for money or to hold on to that money. And we've had so many experiences like this from students that we have worked with. And it isn't always very often about the money itself, right? It's not about the money. Someone should write a book about that. Yeah, Kristen, for example, Kristen is a financial professional. And when she started to explore her own relationship with money, it literally changed her life way beyond the numbers. She actually stopped drinking. And I think it's incredibly courageous of her to share that she was working with a business coach. Her business coach was like, something's changed in you. What's changed in you? And she was like, literally, she was using that as a way to soothe this relationship that she had with money, which I think is just incredible. And then Sarah, as another example of one of our students, she was in what we call fawning mode in psychology. So, very much looking after other people first, putting her needs last, giving too much of her time away for free. And she really explored her own relationship with money and repriced her entire business offerings. Pricing was a really big, major money block for her, right? Um, this lady here is another great example. I love giving examples of like other people's transformations because it really demonstrates. For Ruth, for example, she was a business coach. She actually knew quite a lot about psychology already. And going through this work that we're going to be going through today really helped her to understand that it wasn't actually about having more financial education. It was about understanding the relationship that we had to money, the identity around money. And I'll just share a little piece about my own relationship with money. Some of you may know this about me already, but I was a financial advisor for over 15 years. And I had a terrible relationship with money. I was living in £30,000 worth of debt as a financial advisor. So I knew all the practical things about money, but I wasn't following it for myself. And I grew up in a household where my dad had a lot of wealth. He's an entrepreneur. My mum just got by. And a lot of my core beliefs were deeply attached to women just having enough and men being the gender who were able and allowed to build significant wealth. But then when my parents got divorced, money was used as like a weapon. It was used in, maintenance negotiation conversations, and I wasn't allowed to have money paid directly to me. And it left me feeling, although I'm sure my parents didn't mean for this to happen, but it left me feeling very unsafe with money. And so I didn't want to be perceived as being manipulative with money. Of course not. So I would just get rid of money as quickly as possible. Right. And when I really uncovered my relationship with money, everything changed. I went from being in £30,000 worth of debt. I paid off that debt in 2 years with my very first business. And then I've gone on to build very successful wealth in my own personal life, which has enabled me to take the family on month-long trips. I've also had the pleasure of being able to have more time back, which has meant I've been able to work with Virgin Unite and some of the impact work that they're doing with other leaders all around the world. And the picture of Richard Branson you can see there was me glittering his face on Necker Island a couple of years ago. And none of these things would have happened had I have just sat in this mindset of I need to learn more about money because I knew everything about money. I was a qualified financial advisor, but I wasn't following the advice. And so my name is Catherine Morgan. I am an ex-financial advisor, so I hung that hat up a few years ago. And I now really focus on educating people about money shame, the connection between money and identity. And I've had to unlearn a lot about my relationship with money and self-worth. And that's now what I help others to do. So if you haven't met me before, welcome. Now, when I was 9 years old, I lost £9,000. Not to theft, not to fraud, not to the stock market, not to my twin brother, but I lost it on a single day. And on that single day, I walked into the bank. I had my little passbook with me. I gave it to the cashier for her to update it. And she handed it back to me. And the balance had gone down from £9,000 to zero. And I remember thinking, where the hell has all my money gone? Where's all my money gone? And I decided in that very moment that I'm not good with money. I can't hold on to money. And when I have it, it disappears. That was a single moment in my life when I was 9 years old. And you and your clients will have these money flashpoint moments, we call them in psychology, where something has happened very often in those early years where we've made a decision about what money means. And I just want you to take a moment to think about what one of your early money memories or flashpoints may have been and how that is impacting the decisions that you're making today. Because it's in those early observations that part of the lessons influence our relationship with money, but it's not the whole picture. This is me and my twin brother. Cute, right? My brother's 4 minutes older than me. He always used to have to open his birthday cards 4 minutes before me every year. But my brother, right, this is a great example of a twin study because he grew up in the same environment, same parents, same siblings, same school, same friendship groups. Everything was pretty much the same. But his relationship with money was completely different. You might find this with your partner at home. This is often where we get money clashes, where one person in the relationship has got a completely different relationship to the other person. And my brother had to go through therapy to buy his very first motorbike. He lives in Australia now. And I remember when he first told me that, I was like, oh my God, like I would freely spend money. Like I would probably need therapy to save money in my younger years. And so isn't that interesting that those experiences that we have been through will impact our relationship with money? One of my brother's very earliest money flashpoints was when we were climbing Warwick Castle, which is in the UK. We were climbing this like grassy mound that surrounded the castle. We were 5 years old, and it's actually captured on a family video. My brother's like halfway up the hill, and he's going, "Come on, Catherine, come on!" He's like really beautifully encouraging me to like move faster. And he had a money pot around his neck, like a little cord with a very long cylinder shaped money pot at the end, and it had a lid on it that was attached to the cord. And on that day, he dropped his money pot down a drain, right? And that's what my brother kind of believes, that was one of the very significant flashpoints for him that gave him the perception that I'm not good with looking after money, right? And that suddenly it will just disappear. So that's why he would hoard money and save, 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 and never want to spend it, because his belief was someone's going to take it from me, so I've got to protect it. And so my turning point was that it was safe for women to hold money, not just for men. That wanting to be financially successful is greedy, needy, or self-centered. I had to really dig deep and really start to shift my understanding and my beliefs that wanting to be financially successful is not greedy or needy or self-centered. And the beliefs I had to shift were that you have to work hard to make money, asking for help is a sign of neediness or weakness, and that money is hard to make and easy to lose. Those were some of the big money shifts that I personally had to overcome. And I really believe that this is the future of money. It's about mastering how we feel about money. We can already see that AI is doing a lot of the hard work when it comes to money. I'm already building AI projects for clients to help them to create an investment strategy, to help them to look at ways to reduce their tax, to help them to manage money, right? This is already happening. And so the future of money, what AI will not be able to do is mastering how we feel about money. Now, I know that there's some conversations in the AI space about AI being able to become a therapist and be able to support you with those deep conversations, but it will never take away the human experience. And this is really where I believe it's an opportunity to future proof your business if you are looking to become a financial coach or to be equipped with the tools that will help you to support your clients with this work. Now, I want to share a little bit about the emotional money scale. This is really important for me because what I'm seeing a lot is messages around how you can be happy, how you can be more financially enriched, how you can live a happier life, how you can create more freedom in your life. Who else is hearing those kind of messages, right? And for me, when we look at the emotional money scale, when we're experiencing shame, judgment, fear, anger, resentment, confusion, stress, all of these, what we call low vibrational frequency emotions, right? The job is not to just put it to one side, ignore those feelings, push through them, just be happy. That's not the result we want to create for clients or for ourselves. Because if we try and attempt to go straight from these contractive frequency emotions and try and move into this expansion of, oh, just feel happy and everything will be fine. Just do some affirmations and money will just come into your account, right? We miss the whole spectrum in between. So when we start to ignore those emotions, we actually bypass the most important human emotion in this work, which is acceptance. Because if we can't accept some of the feelings that we experience with money, then we're not going to be in a position to move through those stages to then hold ourselves in compassion and love and acceptance and joy and enlightenment and peace and joy. Does this make sense? We don't want to bypass this emotional journey. And this is why actually having a toolkit that helps you to dive into those pieces in a really courageous and curious way really supports us to stay in a positive relationship with money, not just have it for a week and then it disappears, right? The goal is not to heal, the goal is to accept. The goal is to accept those feelings, accept those emotions, challenge those emotions, but to accept them, live alongside them, because there'll always be a part of you that will feel something around money. There'll always be a part of me that still feels shame around earning more than my mum when she had to struggle. There'll still be elements of me that will feel judged when I get to make money when other people are struggling in the world. Right? There's still that part of me. So it's about holding all of those parts together. So let's do a little experiment, a little game, if you like. I do this from stage and it's so much fun. I actually use real money from stage. If you ever see me on stage speaking, make sure you put your hand up when I say, who wants some money? But let's just play this virtually today. So I want to ask you a question. Right? I want you to imagine that I have just deposited £2 million into your bank account. I've just put £2 million into your bank account. How do you feel about receiving that £2 million? And if you're watching this live, let me know in the chat. Dr. Laura's like, oh, shocked. Yeah, excited. Yeah, a bit of laughter going on. Excited. Yeah, relieved. Yeah, empowered. Relief. Yeah. I'd feel amazing. There'd be so many things I could do with it. Yeah, already mentally thinking, oh, what would I do with that money? Yeah, would my bank account pop? Would it explode? Shock, excitement. Yeah, almost like this duality of, oh, why has she done that? Yeah, apprehensive. What's this all about? Yeah, excited and scared at the same time. Yeah, it's such an interesting question. And some of you will physically be feeling something, right? It's like a very somatic response. And some of you might be thinking, well, what do you want in return? Where are the strings attached? What's she going to ask for back? Right? Maybe you were given money and then there were strings attached to it. Maybe for some of you, there might be this fear of, well, I didn't have to work for that. So what's going on? That doesn't make sense. That's so unnatural. It's almost like surreal. It's something that would happen in someone else's lifetime or in a movie, right? Or some of you might be like, yes, finally, I knew I should have been on this training today. And so many of our reactions in this moment are all driven by our inherited money beliefs system. Some of these shares, when I've done this before, are a gateway to the money beliefs that these people hold. See if you can spot them. The first one, I can't earn more money than the men in my family. What do you think might be some of the generational beliefs there? Money makes you a horrible person. I'll never be wealthy as I don't deserve it. Money is all about secrets and shame. Doing all the housework and earning money, belief that my home needs to be cared for first before I can earn. I can't be trusted to have my own savings, so someone's got to take care of it for me. I'm an overgiver and an undercharger by nature. What I love about this one is that I am, right? This I am statement is basically saying my identity, who I am, is this. So when we label ourselves, when we hear that language with our clients or with ourselves, that tells us so much about their identity. They're directly attaching their sense of self with money. And then money can be a burden and ruin people. I was always told that, right? So many interesting beliefs. Yeah, Dr. Laura saying strings attached, didn't have to work for that, definitely resonated. Yeah, I don't deserve, right? And where do these money beliefs actually come from? Well, many of them do come from our own personal experiences, some of which I've shared earlier today. Some of them come from family, sayings that we heard, things that our parents would tell us. My mum used to say to me, like, don't pick that coin up off the floor, it's dirty. Money's dirty, right? I want doesn't get, she'd say to me when I'd stomp my feet and I couldn't get my own way, right? Society, think about what society tells us about money and wealth. Starling Bank did a really interesting survey on this a few years ago called a Make Money Equal campaign. And in that campaign, they demonstrated that over 75% of the media talk to men about investing, growing their wealth, being rich, all of these things, flash cars, lots of status driven messages. And then women, it was all about managing the household purse and being frugal with money. You know, as if we're not able to have those powerful money conversations. That's what the media is talking to us about money. You've got religious influences as well. I remember working with a client who grew up in a Mormon family, and she had to give away a percentage of her income. And it really affected how she was able to earn money in her business. And then we also have ancestral beliefs. Now, there is evidence through epigenetics that our relationship with ourselves goes back up to 3 generations. Now, let's dive into that piece for a moment, shall we? Some of the most common generational money patterns that are affecting you today and your clients are these. The first one is post-war scarcity programming, right? Post-war scarcity programming. So this shows up like there's never enough, save everything, waste nothing. Clients who can't invest in business growth despite having the funds, or people who hoard money even when spending would serve their goals. That's where you'll see that one show up. The second one is religious guilt around wealth. You'll hear phrases like money's the root of all evil, or wealthy people are greedy. And these clients often chronically undercharge, give away their services for free, or they sabotage their success because deep down they believe that having money makes them a bad person. The third one is class-based limitations. So this often shows up where people say things like, people like us don't have money, people like us, or don't get above yourself, right? Clients will hit income ceilings, experience imposter syndrome when they're earning more money, or unconsciously keeping themselves small to stay loyal to their family's financial identity. We also have family trauma responses. And trauma really is a disruption of the nervous system. So when families experience financial loss, divorce, business failure, grief, clients can inherit beliefs like money causes problems, more money, more problems, right? Or success destroys relationships. And it leads them to sabotaging their own financial growth to avoid perceived family conflict. I can see a lot of you resonating with these in the chat. Yeah, some of them they just don't feel like they're even ours. Like we've borrowed them from parents or caregivers or grandparents. And it's really interesting. We did some research around the different generations. And if you think about the generations of your grandparents' age, the silent generation, 1928 to 1945, they experienced the Great Depression. They experienced World War II, rationing, resource scarcity, post-war economic boom, this like dramatic shift from lack to abundance. And some of their biggest money fears are running out of money, old age, being a burden on their children, being taken advantage of by financial scams, outliving their savings. These are the types of generation that would save for a rainy day. Maybe your parents told you that because that's what they learned from their parents. Cash is king. They would literally stitch cash into their curtains. Believe me, I would visit them as a financial advisor. They didn't trust the banks. They would stitch all their cash into the bottom of their curtains, hide it under the floorboards. Right? Those were the money behaviors of that generation. Then we moved into this baby boomers generation. This would be likely your parents' generation, where we had this like big period of post-war prosperity, lots of optimism. We had the civil rights movement, challenging authorities and institutions. We had the rise of consumer culture. Women could open their first bank account in the 1960s. And their biggest money fears were not having enough money in retirement, being forced to work past their retirement age, being dependent on their children. That's their biggest fear. And their core money beliefs were very centered around work hard, live well. Very, very much so. Now, you might be picking up on, well, I've kind of got this money belief too, right? This didn't belong in your generation. Like if we go to the Gen X generation, some of you may be in this space, you may have experienced or remember economic recession, Black Monday, big stock market crash, the rise of pensions or 401ks. And a lot of fears for this generation were around institutional failure affecting their savings, job losses, redundancies, not having enough put aside for retirement, being unable to help our children financially get onto the property ladder. A lot of mistrust in this generation, especially of banks and institutions. And really a lot of focus on work-life balance. And then we go into the millennials. I just tip into this. 1981, I was born. I remember 9/11. I remember the 2008 financial crisis. I remember the student loan explosion, the house affordability crisis. And some of these biggest fears were not being able to afford a home, the cost of student loans, like crippling people, not putting enough money aside for later life. And this is where we start to see value-based spending and investing come in. Very much investing in alignment with things that you actually care about on the planet. And experiences over things. That's important for this generation. Then we've got the Gen Z, right? Social media is booming, constant comparisonitis, fear of missing out, COVID-19, we're still seeing the impact of that. Then we're seeing the emergence of cryptocurrency or alternative financial systems that are not reliant on the banks. This is the future of money, decentralization. And some of their biggest money fears are economic instability, not being able to afford these basic life milestones, making financial mistakes because they're not experienced, and comparing themselves to other people and feeling really inadequate. And we're also starting to see this generation being very pragmatic around money, very technology driven, very entrepreneurial in their mindset, not staying in full-time jobs, but actually building their own wealth. So interesting, isn't it? So each generation develops very distinct money patterns based on the economic events that they experience, what we call their money imprint years. And so think about, what money beliefs did you inherit that no longer serve the life that you are trying to create? What a great question that would be for a client as well. And this is why transforming your money identity isn't just personal work, it's generational work. I love getting people to draw out their family tree. This is my family tree. This is my mum's side of the family. My mum is the little girl on her father's back in the third picture there. She actually lost her dad. He was 42, had a massive heart attack while they were on holiday. He went through the Japanese prisoner of war camps. He survived, but consequently had a very weak heart. Now, he in those days didn't have a will, and so all of his wealth went to his eldest son. So his wife, my grandmother, who's also in that photograph, who's also now 100 years old, on the right hand side, that's her cheeky grin, last January when she turned 100. And she was left with 5 children with no money, really. And there was a big pattern in my female lineage on my mum's side that money disappears, right? Money's taken away. And I was feeling that energy. I was feeling this energy of sadness and grief around money just suddenly disappearing. And I was thinking, where is this coming from? And I didn't uncover it until I went through my family tree. This is one of the exercises we teach, is going through a family tree. It's honestly one of the most interesting things that you can do, and something you might actually want to go and do after listening to this training. Because every time we make a decision about money, whether it's giving money, receiving money, spending money, we're activating deeply held beliefs about ourselves and others that create the beliefs for the next generation. Right? Change your relationship with money, change every single future generation. That is so powerful to even consider that you are shaping the relationship that you have for every future generation. Think about the impacts that your clients will be able to have in their family generations. It's just such meaningful work. And the way that beliefs are formed is not just through the thoughts that we have around money, right? The thoughts that we have about money, how we feel about money, come from our biology, our DNA. Our DNA is driven through the emotional DNA. how we feel about money. How we feel about money affects our biology. Our biology affects our thoughts. Our thoughts affect our choices, and our choices affect our behaviors, and our behaviors then impact on the experiences that we have with money. And so it's important to look at all areas of this cycle to really create long lasting change. But it's not the actual belief, it's what you made it mean about yourself. So if that belief was, I'm not good with money, what did you make it mean about yourself? I'm not good enough in that example. It's what we make it mean about our identity. That's the key. Let's look at some of the money patterns and beliefs that might be holding you back and learn how to shift them. Who's ready to do some of that with me today? So I want to introduce you to the money narrative clearing framework. This is our 6-step methodology that we have crafted and created over the last 10 years of this work. And we're going to focus on a tool that we use inside the coach certification program, our coaching tools program, which is step 1 of this method, which is awareness. Arguably the most important stage, because this is where acceptance comes into play, what we talked about on the emotional money spectrum. And awareness is very much about bringing curiosity to this belief, because once we bring curiosity to this belief, we can then start to follow from this place of acceptance of these beliefs, these stories, these thoughts, these emotions, to, well, how has this supported us? This is where we move into benefits. How has this supported our relationship with money? Really important to go through how it supported us first, before we then flip the coin and go into how it's limiting us or how it's limiting your clients. What are the challenges that come up with your relationship with money? I'm undercharging, I'm overgiving, I'm people pleasing, I'm spending more money than I'm making, I'm hoarding money, I'm holding on to money. Like, what are those challenges? I'm hitting income ceilings. I don't know how much to charge. Those kind of pieces. And then we can start to explore, well, what would be possible? Like challenging those beliefs, opening space for new ones to emerge. And when we open space for new beliefs to emerge, we can then start to explore the future. I love taking clients into like visualization of guiding them through imagining these new possibilities. And there's a lot of research that sits behind the consequences and the what actually happens when we mentally rehearse outcomes that have not yet happened. There was some research done at Cleveland Clinic in the USA where they took 2 groups of people, and they got one set of people to go to the gym and exercise, and the other group of people to imagine they were going to the gym and exercising. And the group who didn't actually exercise, there was only like a 10% difference in their muscle mass compared to the people who did actually go to the gym, right? Because they imagine themselves going to the gym. They imagine lifting the weights and doing their bench presses, right? And if that's no hope for any of us who are not gym goers, then I don't know what is. Right? There's such power in goal testing, getting your client to go and goal test, getting your client to go and imagine those new possibilities. We bring them into the body, we re-imprint those, and then we get to connect them to their values, their motivators. And through this whole process is how we create change and a healthy relationship with money. So one of the ways and one of the tools that hopefully you guys have taken before this workshop is, in this awareness first stage, is to use the money story types tool. Now, we created this tool 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and it's been like one of my biggest money psychology projects, because we've tested and tested and tweaked, and we've done all sorts of studies around this tool. And so I wanted to dive into these 5 distinct money story types. What are some of their unique strengths and what are some of their blind spots? Because they're not just behavioral patterns, they're identity frameworks that shape how we see ourselves in relation to money. And you will have elements of all of these in yourself, right? It's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's not a personality test. This is just about currently, with regards to your current relationship with money, how are you expressing that? So for the impulsive, very often the identity belief here is that I'm out of control with money. And the way that this supports them is that they, as an impulsive, I'm an impulsive very naturally. And so I take fast action. I very much enjoy the here and now, not thinking so much about the future. I am quite a risk taker, right? But the sabotaging side of the impulsive is that we can struggle with delayed gratification, like waiting for things. We can sometimes lack structure, especially when it comes to money. We can resist things like budget plans, um, easy to overspend, and we resist budgeting, right? This is the impulsive narrative. And really, it's about them feeling safe to be impulsive and feel secure at the same time. And so, this is a great example. Kristen, when she joined our program, the lady I told you about earlier, she was very high on impulsive. And you can see that from the kind of dopamine hit that she was requiring by spending money, was that it gave her brain this instant dopamine release. And she was using alcohol in the same way. It was like it was an addiction, right? And there's a big connection between addiction and money, especially for the impulsive story type. Then we have the innovator. The innovator, I love the innovator because they're very like, I'm a money maker. I can just like easy come, easy go. Like I'll always figure it out. They're very optimistic when it comes to money. They are very good naturally at spotting opportunities, especially when it comes to wealth creation. They've got a really strong work ethic. They like working hard. They like working longer hours. So when people are like, don't work long hours, it's not about having to work hard for money. The innovators like working hard for money. But because of that, the sabotaging side is that they can get burnt out. They can potentially take too many risks and they can actually neglect their present needs because they're very much thinking more so about the future than they are about in the here and in the now. How many of you resonate with this one as the innovator or some elements of this? And remember, this isn't a cookie cutter approach for everybody. But the innovator, it's about feeling safe to enjoy today and look to the future. And then we have the enabler. This one shows up a lot, more for women than it does for men from our research. So the enabler is the fauna in psychology. It's the people pleaser. It's the imposter syndrome that comes out around money. I've got to take care of everybody else's needs first. And so very caring and generous in their relationship with money, but they can neglect their own needs, find it very difficult to spend on themselves. And because they're very overgiving, they can actually feel a lot of resentment, right? So that's the enabler. And this was Sarah. She was the enabler, and understanding this and going through the toolkit around this framework, she really identified that people pleaser element, and that really struck a note with her in reference to how much she was charging in her business. So that one awareness piece unlocked literally over £100,000 worth of extra revenue for her. She hadn't raised her prices for like 5 years. It had a really significant impact on her own personal wealth. And then you've got the architect. This is my husband, right? He wants to get all the spreadsheets out immediately as soon as money comes up, because his biggest fear is that I might run out of money. So he has to plan for everything. You'll see this with clients if you've got natural planners, right? Love budget planners, love spreadsheets, love automations, systemizations, very carefully considered in their decisions with money, often hold more in cash because there's a fear of investing and losing money. They can often sit in analysis paralysis, so they don't make any decisions at all. And because of that, they do miss opportunities. They can be quite rigid. When I work with architects, a lot of it is to do with feeling safe to make decisions and feeling safe to not have to hold all the responsibility and take risks that are not planned. They're not in the plan. And then we have, oh, and this was Laura actually. Laura's such an amazing money mindset. She's one of our money mindset coaches now. She's a big architect, and making money was icky for Laura. She's at the time when we first met Laura, she was in her 20s. She had like £30,000 saved that she had invested. And so it really supported her, but she also unpacked a lot about the impact her dad's had and the impact that that left her feeling when it came to money and her relationship with money. And then we have the pacifist. Now, the pacifist often comes up if people have been financially rescued. So if you're speaking to clients, they've been financially rescued, they've got into debt, their parents have come in and paid it off. They've had a student loan, their parents have come in and paid it off. The parents think they're doing the best thing, but actually, for the pacifist, they don't want the responsibility because of what that means. You sometimes see this with lottery winners as well. They're like, I don't want it. I don't want the responsibility that that brings because that means I have to make the perfect decision. Somebody else can do it. So I'm just going to get rid of all the money, or I'm not going to make any financial decisions. My husband can do that. My business partner can do that. A lot of self-neglect for the pacifist, and they do find it difficult to receive compliments, receive advice, receive money. It's just safer for them to just go, no, someone else can do that. So that's the pacifist. Now, there's no right or wrong with these, but what is important here, and if we're using this with our clients, it's about balancing these archetypes so that maybe you can give yourself permission for it to be safe to earn more, receive more, feel safe to hold more money, feel safe to take some action, to take risks, to make some investing decisions without it feeling like you're pushing against your natural instincts. So for the impulsive, the advice that we would give for clients in the impulsive space, and again, this is generic, so sometimes we would tweak this depending on the client's relationship with money. But shorter planning cycles works really well for the impulsive. Daily money tracking, small things that they can do with money. Right? Don't ask an impulsive to go and fill in a budget planner because they won't do it. They'll hate it. It will feel unsafe. It's the baby steps. Tracking the emotions around money. How are they feeling in those moments before they overspend? What are they actually trying to feel in that moment? Are they spending because they're bored? They're hungry? They're happy? What is the emotions that sit behind that? And creating automated money pots, setting up standing orders, things where money can be invested or saved automatically so they don't have to think about it. That's really useful for the impulsive. And a good question here for the impulsive, if you recognize this in yourself or your clients, is what fears come up when you think about having a plan? What are you worried about when you think about plan? Because as soon as you say the word plan, impulses will run a mile, right? Routines and rituals are better, it's better language to use with impulsives. But what's the biggest fear for them? What are they worried about? The architect, To get the balance for the architect, it's about having impulsive money pots, just small amounts of money where they can give themselves permission to spend money that is not planned. And then focusing on shifting them from learning to implementation. So we get a lot of architects that come into our programs and they learn, but they don't implement. Who sees this with their clients, right? So they need accountability. They need small action steps that they can take so that they can feel safe to actually go and do the doing. And it's just about safety, feeling safe to do that. So I do a lot of work with architects for that very reason. So the question here is, what is the fear that comes up to take action? Or what is the fear that comes up to spend money? What are you really worried about? And then we have the enabler. So this is about creating boundaries, right? Giving boundaries. How much of your time or your money are you giving away to other people? What are the boundaries around that? So you're not over giving. And I love doing a cost consequence exercise for the enabler. So actually working out for every hour you're giving away, what is that as a consequence to your personal wealth? And then is there a way that they can have a me fund? Give them £50 a month, £100 a month, £1,000 a month to just spend on themselves. Are you starting to see how it's not a cookie cutter approach with money? If we actually start to understand the client's relationship, we can build money systems that are going to work for them and that is going to feel joyful and that actually they're going to stick to. It's just a complete game changer. None of these cookie cutter rubbish. Just set up a budget and then you'll manage money. Like just not the case, right? So for the enabler, it's what am I seeking more by giving to others? Very often it is just wanting to be liked, wanting to feel part of the community or the tribe, a sense of belonging and purpose in the world. And then the pacifist, because the pacifist wants to shoulder responsibility to others, well, encouraging them to hire in that financial support. Even if they hire a bookkeeper and get their bookkeeper to report to them a summary of their finances every week or every month. So they're still having some element of responsibility, but they're not going into the detail of money. And so because of that, choosing one area of money and helping them to create safety, that it is safe for them to be responsible with money, is a great tip for the pacifist. So if you're seeing this with your clients, just pick one area. Don't work on the whole spectrum. Like just pick one small area and create this muscle memory so it can become safe for them to take responsibility with money. And what does being responsible actually mean? I had a client who was very responsible for her parents growing up. Her dad was suicidal, had mental health issues. Her mum was constantly working, and she was very responsible for her parents. And so that heaviness of responsibility created this push away response to money. I don't want it. I don't need it. Someone else can take care of it. So, what does being responsible actually mean to them? And then finally, the innovator. The balance for the innovator is having boundaries around risk taking, making sure we're not taking too much risk, over investing. Also taking some of that creativity the innovator has and putting it into other areas of life, not just in the money making category. And creating short-term goals and long-term goals is important for the innovator, getting them to be in the here and now and plan for the future. So, what feeling is created when I say no to things is a great question for the innovator. The innovators don't like saying no. They're like, opportunity, yes, 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 yes. And then they're like, oh my God, my diary's so full. I've overcommitted. So, what would happen if they were to feel safe to just say no? No, not right now. So, why is all of this so important to understand? Well, the cost of not understanding this is that your most challenging clients will remain stuck. And this is why I just think money is such a big part of everyone's lives. And so we don't want our clients to stay stuck, right? We want to help them. We want to help them to charge for not what they're worth as a human being, for what their service and their work is worth and valued in this world, right? It means that they'll stay with you longer because they'll be making more money, they'll be holding more money. And for you, I really believe that when you can have this money stuff in your toolkit, you're future proofing your business. You know, this work is the work that AI can never replace. I really believe that. I'm using a lot of AI in my business and in my life. And I really believe that when we're in this current environment, where people are taking longer to make decisions about what they're investing in and what services they're using, money, it always comes back to money. It always comes back to money. And so understanding this also helps you to really dive into shifting those generational patterns for the rest of their lifetime. It's such meaningful work. And so I really want to invite you to imagine what would be possible if you were to start using this work with your clients. What would be possible? Because what we've explored today is understanding your money story type and taking that first crucial step of awareness. And that's just the beginning of a much deeper transformational process. And the question is, what if you could help your clients experience the same level of awareness around money? You know, as professionals, as coaches, as service providers, we're trained to help clients transform in so many other areas that might be relationship, career, strategy, health. But money often remains that final frontier. And so, what if you could confidently help clients guide them through with a step by step methodology? And let's be honest about the conversation that we're probably avoiding is that our own relationship with money as well. You know, there might be some of you who want to do this work for yourself first so that you can really listen to that voice in your head that's questioning whether you're worth what you want to charge, undervaluing your expertise, or giving away your time for free because asking for money might feel uncomfortable. And you might be thinking, well, how can I help my clients with money when I'm still working through this myself? Right? After 17 years of being in financial services and training hundreds of coaches, I can honestly tell you that your money journey, including your struggles, makes you more qualified to help others, not less, because we're all human. And money isn't just about the numbers, it's about identity, it's about safety, it's about worth, it's about belonging, all rolled into one. And so when you struggle to charge your worth, you're not just having a pricing problem, you're revealing these inherited beliefs about your value. And when you give away too much for free, you're not just being generous, you're following these generational patterns about who deserves to be paid well. And so when your clients freeze during these money conversations, they're experiencing the exact same inherited beliefs that might be affecting your business decisions, right? So these lived experiences really give you genuine empathy for clients' money fears. They give you an ability to spot these subtle money blocks that other people might miss. They give you credibility that comes from walking that path yourself, and it gives you permission to like have imperfect conversations that create change. And so today I wanted to invite you to consider our financial coaching tools program. And I just wanted to share a little bit about this framework and this particular program. And so if you wanted to come and join us, you will have a year's access to video modules. Now, these video modules have been very carefully created to be short and sweet with implementation steps after each video. So we do have a lot of neurodivergent students that come through this program. We have a lot of very busy professionals coming through this program. So it has been very carefully created on that basis. They are psychology-based content videos through the lens of trauma with transcripts, worksheets, guidebooks, everything that you would need. And then as part of the program, you will also access the full money narrative clearing framework. This is what you will use with clients when you start to do this work. You'll also access our global coach community as well, and a whole bunch of tools, templates, methods, frameworks, client-ready documents that you can use in your coaching work. Everything is there for you. And as part of the coaching tools as well, there is also an opportunity to come and join us in some live practice sessions. So there is an opportunity if you want to go to full certification and become a certified financial coach, which some of you may not want to do. Some of you may just want the toolkit and the framework and off you go. Some of you might decide, actually, I want to be a fully certified financial coach and I want to go a little bit deeper in that. And then that would be when you will unlock the practice sessions. Now, some of the tools that you would have access to within this program, I'll just share a couple of them here with you. We have the borrowed beliefs inventory and timeline. This is the one where we look at the inherited money beliefs through the generations. We have some couples coaching scripts if you decide to work with business partners or in families, to really help you to understand the dynamics of what happens when you've got two different relationships with money. And we talk you through our strong model for navigating financial conflict. This work as well builds in a lot of nervous system, emotional regulation tools. So you'll be introduced to one of them, which is called the heart breathing, which is a body somatic based tool that will help you as the coach and your clients to build that safety into the body when money conversations come up. This is one of the tools I would say is probably the most desired by a lot of professionals. They want to be able to help their clients to navigate the emotions that come up when money is spoken about. We've got financial values elicitations. This is where we dive into how to elicit a client's values and then how do you align that into their money systems that you're going to build with them. We have coaching session planners as well and money language libraries. So these are done for you scripts and worksheets that again you can use in your client coaching sessions. And then another example of one of the tools is I'm very passionate about educating people about understanding the red flags that may be needed, particularly if you are navigating the complexities of subjects such as financial abuse. I'm actually a certified financial abuse specialist, so it's one of the areas I'm very passionate about. And the way that this program works is through 4 phases. There's actually this is one of our curriculum guideline books. You can actually download this on the page I'll share with you in a moment. And these 4 phases are taking you through each of the video steps and the frameworks, right from grounding and getting you ready to do this work, which is very often doing this work with your own relationship with money first. Then it's mapping out the money mind. It's going into the money narrative clearing method and the money story types tool that you'll be using with clients, looking at the intergenerational beliefs, the money identity, and money and emotions. And then phase 3 is about building coaching mastery. This is about going deeper into some other tools that are going to help you to transform those client conversations. And then finally heading into phase 4, which is then looking at your coaching toolkit, preparing yourself to have these conversations. Now, if you are sitting there thinking, well, I've got this work to do with myself first, Catherine, great. I want you to be in that position. I want you to be open to do this with yourself first. Kat is a great example of, she's an accountant who came into our program, and 20 years of experience. This completely changed her personal outlook on money, causing her to question many of the beliefs that she had about money. And it really opened up a new professional avenue for her in a way that wasn't present for her before she did this work. Now, you will have access to use this Money Story Types tool. So the quiz that you guys completed before this workshop, you can send your clients to complete that tool. And this is a great way to start the conversation. Clients love it. I hope you have enjoyed your own experience of this. And so you'll be able to use that with your own clients. There is an opportunity, if you would like, we also are able to white label this for you. If you wanted to have your own branding for this tool and you wanted to put it on your website for lead generation or to use in workshops and presentations. So there is also an opportunity. There is an additional cost for that. It's £50 per month, but that does give you the option to white label that tool as well. Tim Townsend, he was one of our first early users of this tool, actually, and he was using this in corporate presentations. So Alex Forbes over here in Jersey, they use this tool in their corporate presentations, and they literally generate hundreds of leads a month by using this tool. So it is a really great opportunity to have in your kit bag to help you build your coaching business. So if you decide to come and join us, you'll have access to these bonuses here. The first one is a 30-minute video training helping you to look at the strategies to creating successful marketing campaigns to find your ideal clients. I know that's one that everyone is loving right now. The other one is a personal finance money management bundle. So for any of you who don't have experience of creating money management systems for clients, there's 4 individual planners in there that are dependent on their money story types, right? Depending on whether they're an impulsive or an architect, etc., that you can use with your clients. You'll also have access to a meditation library. This is great just to rewire your own nervous system when it comes to your own relationship with money. And then finally, if you've got clients who have debts and want to set up a plan to repay those debts or to set some financial goals, creating their financial freedom number and how to work that out for your clients, there's also some training in there around those pieces as well. So the value of our coaching tools program is around £10,000, right? It's probably a bit more than that now because we've added some extra resources in, but that isn't the price that you guys will pay. So if you decide to come and join us in the financial coaching tools, the investment, which is available in 2 options, you have the pay in full, which is normally 2,499 plus VAT, but we have a £500 off for the next just over a week. Finishes on the Monday, the 28th of July. And that brings the investment down to 1,997 plus VAT. If you are able to pay in full, we also give you a 12-week marketing program. This is 12 hours, 12 videos that talk, in fact, I'll tell you more about that in a second, but it's a whole marketing program that helps you around building your coaching practice. And then we have a 12-month payment option as well, which normally is £250 plus VAT, but with the £500 off, that works out at 195 plus VAT. Now, if you do pay in full, this is the marketing program that you would have access to. It is a 4-step framework around attracting clients. We talk through a very simple marketing plan of your build strategies, your borrow strategies, and your buy strategies, developing your product ladder, delivering workshops, considering building membership models, all the things that potentially you might want to do when it comes to marketing your brand. Here is your opportunity. This is an opportunity to differentiate your practice with a very unique psychology-based approach, to create breakthrough moments for your clients around money, to build stronger, deeper client relationships that will lead to better outcomes, which may mean that they'll stay with you for longer, they'll invest more money with you. And it adds a really powerful dimension to your work. I really believe this is the future of money. I really, really believe that, so much so that I've closed down so much of my other parts of my business to focus on this. I believe that this is the future of money. It's the future of future proofing for a lot of business owners. And it will open up new income opportunities for you. We have our coaches working in one-to-one sessions with clients. We've got our coaches who have built group programs, running retreats with these frameworks, like so many different ways you can build an ecosystem to build more personal wealth for you as well. So if you would like to come and join us, if you go and visit the link at the bottom there, themoneypanel.co.uk/coaches, I'll just pop that in the chat for all of you. So thank you so much for joining me today for this training. I hope to see some of you in the Coaching Tools program, and wishing you all the very best in transforming your relationship with money and future-proofing your business.